let's talk about movies.
And may I see Oppenheimer? Yes. Yes.
In honor of the 98th Academy Awards, I thought it would be fun to watch every single movie nominated for Best Picture in 2026 and give you my personal ranking of all of them. I think this video could also be interesting for anyone out there who may not have seen some of these movies or may not have had the time to watch every single one of the movies on this list. So I got you. Not only will I be giving a little bit of my own personal reviews, but I'll be giving you a little bit of a gist of what every single movie is about, so you could decide for yourself whether you want to watch the movie or not, and you can know a little bit about the film before going into the Oscars. Before I get started, I just want to put a major disclaimer on this video that one, I genuinely enjoy most movies, and I genuinely enjoyed every single movie on this list. I didn't think there was a single bad movie. There was nothing that I particularly hated about any one of these movies, but since this is a tier ranking, somebody's got to be at the bottom and somebody's got to be at the top. And honestly, I've been switching around my rankings up until right before I started this video. And there's a lot of areas in this list where I think a lot of the movies are interchangeable. But for the fun of this video, I decided to rank them from 10th place to first place. And it doesn't mean anything about you if your most favorite movie just happened to fall at the bottom of my personal list. Like I said, I don't hate any one of these movies. Take everything I say not too seriously. This is all just my personal preferences and opinions. And honestly, just know that this list is a little bit fluid in a way. But for the sake of this video, somebody's got to be at the top and somebody's got to be at the bottom. So with all that being said, let's get on into it. I feel like Abby Lee Miller right now about to unveil the bottom of the pyramid, but coming in at 10th place for me is F1 the movie. F1 the movie was directed by Joseph Kosinski of Top Gun Maverick fame, and it follows a character, Sonny Hayes, as he returns to Formula One racing after 30 years to help his friend save his losing team. Now, if I had to sum up my thoughts on F1, I would say it's a movie. And I don't mean that in any sort of bad or good way. It's just that I don't think when comparing it to a lot of these other movies, which is what this video is about, if it stands out, which is why for me F1 kind of fell to the bottom of this list. Now, when F1 was announced as one of the nominees for Best Picture, I was honestly surprised to see it make the list. It's just not typically the usual movie that makes it on this type of list, and I had not seen F1 at the time yet, but I wasn't too excited to really go see it. It just didn't seem like the type of movie that I typically enjoy. Racing is not really my thing, and I don't know too much about Formula One, so I wasn't really sure how I was going to feel about this movie after watching it, but after seeing it, I could say that it was actually pretty decent as a movie. There was nothing that I really hated about the movie overall, and I think it's an enjoyable, fun time, and I was pleasantly surprised that I actually genuinely enjoyed myself while watching this movie. For me, it wasn't bad, but it just wasn't great. I really enjoyed Carrie Condon and her character, but as for the overall plot, it is kind of formulaic in the way that a lot of these sports movies typically are. As far as cinematography, performances, and plot of this movie, nothing was outstanding where I would think it's Best Picture level outstanding, but I will say I genuinely thought the sound design was really great. And I did watch part of this movie with headphones on, so maybe that's why I notice more of the sound. And this movie did get a nomination for Best Sound, which I think is deserved. Also, I did enjoy Hans Zimmer's score for this movie, and those are the two main aspects for me that I think puts this movie on a little bit of another level. A lot of people were saying that F1 was nominated more so because it was a major technical feat. I looked up some behind the scenes, and I do appreciate the technical team that worked on this film because there was a lot that went into building the cars and figuring out a way to put the cameras on the cars and doing some of their effects. And I think that's a major reason why this movie kind of made it into the Best Picture category, because I think the Academy wanted to recognize sort of the technical feat of this movie and what went into the making of this film. Also, as far as the writing goes, I found this movie particularly funny because it takes place in the real world of Formula One. And I believe Lewis Hamilton was a producer on this movie, but we do see just random glimpses and hear the names of a lot of other famous Formula One drivers, which I found funny because it made the movie feel a little bit like self-insert fan fiction, just because it was these fictional characters in a very much real world. Like at the end of the movie, the main person they're trying to beat in the race is Lewis Hamilton. And I found it particularly funny that the main characters of this movie are fictional, but everybody else is real and playing themselves. And overall, I had a good time watching this. I think if you're a fan of sports movies and these types of action movies, then you will enjoy F1. I just don't think for me personally, there was a lot within this that I'm going to remember in the long run. And it wasn't something where I'm recommending it to people like, you gotta watch this right now. Like, would I recommend it if you like this type of movie? Yes, but I think it was just fine. It was just enjoyable. It was a movie, in my opinion. But let's move on now. Coming in at 9th place, I have Frankenstein, directed by Guillermo del Toro and obviously adapted based off of the classic novel Frankenstein. The thing I enjoyed most about Frankenstein was the production design, and I was pleased to hear that it is also nominated for Best Production Design. I really love the gothic dark fantasy world that was created here. However, as an adaptation, I think this movie was simply just okay. Jacob Elordi did excellent in his portrayal of the creature, which earned him a nomination for Best Supporting Actor, although he is in a category with a lot of other actors who gave really exceptional performances, so I'm not sure if I see him winning compared to some of the other performances in this category. As far as the writing, I have eased up on some of my earlier criticisms on this as an adaptation because I do have to at least acknowledge that Guillermo del Toro understood the major themes of the book and captures the essence of the original source material. The reason why I'm saying this is because there has been another recent classic literature adaptation that, from what I hear, does not really understand the source material that it's meant to be adapting in a way where they're losing all of the major themes that people loved from the original book. And I think Guillermo del Toro, at least he got across a lot of the major themes of the book. So I gotta give him at least some credit in that. But I just wish the writing in Frankenstein was done in a more nuanced way as it is done in the book. In my opinion, the movie is heavy-handed in its portrayal of Dr. Frankenstein as the villain, as they annoyingly even have another character basically declare this out loud. And they're also a little heavy-handed in portraying the creature as this sympathetic victim. But from what I understand about the original source material is that it's a lot more nuanced and complex. And that's what makes the story more interesting and generates a greater emotional impact. It is supposed to show the complexities of good and evil. And in the book, the creature also kills people and does bad things. But in the movie, the creature isn't really presented as this complex character who has done bad things and who is also heavily flawed. And it feels like the movie is explicitly stating the major themes of the material in a way that is sort of holding the audience's hand. This movie is also produced by Netflix, so I would not be surprised if Netflix executives are the reason behind why the script feels a little bit dumbed down, as it wouldn't be the first time that Netflix has asked people to dumb their scripts down for the general audience. I think overall Frankenstein is not a bad movie, but because of the way the writing was done, it's not one of my favorites on this list. Coming in at number 8 on my list, we have Bugonia, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. Bugonia follows two conspiracy theorists when they kidnap a CEO because they are convinced she is an alien. To everyone out there, I am so sorry this movie is so low on the list. I just don't personally think that Lanthimos movies are always for me. For reference, the only other two Yorgos Lanthimos movies I have seen are Poor Things and Kinds of Kindness. However, I think out of the three, Bugonia is the one that I have enjoyed the most. Something I have loved about Lanthimos' movies have been the performances by the actors and the cinematography. Bugonia continues to deliver on those fronts. It was shot on film, which I always love to see, and it looked amazing. Emma Stone killed it, as she always does, and so did Jesse Plemons. I was actually very surprised to see that Jesse Plemons wasn't nominated for his performance in this movie. The plot of Bugonia is based off of a South Korean film from 2003 called Save the Green Planet. I have not seen it, but I really want to, because a lot of the reasons why I didn't love Bugonia as much lie within aspects of its writing, and I'm wondering if Save the Green Planet solves some of these issues for me. What really comes through in the writing is that Lanthimos and screenwriter Will Tracy have something profound to say. However, the movie doesn't fully explore and dive as deep into its themes as I would like it to, and I felt the same way about Poor Things. Without spoiling it, and I'll say maybe this is a bit of a mild spoiler, so skip to the next part if you don't want to be spoiled on this movie. But Emma Stone's character left me with a lot of questions. I really wish the film expanded on why her character chose to do the things that she did. She's an interesting character because she claims to want to save humanity, but a lot of her actions contradict this, as we have seen how she too has contributed to a lot of the problems and harmful acts that she claims is a flaw within humanity. And the movie shows us then that she has these same flaws within her. I really wish the film would have dove deeper into her feelings and her looking inward at her own actions. Does she feel any guilt or remorse? What are the things that made her that way or caused her to do the things that she did? But the movie never gets to explore any of her emotions or motivations in any type of meaningful way because of this reveal that happened so late in the movie. And I think exploring these aspects could have contributed to the overall emotional impact of the story, helping its message to not feel so surface level. But that's just my opinion, and we will move on. Coming in for me at number 7, we have Train Dreams, directed by Clint Bentley. Train Dreams follows the unlucky events and tragedy that plague Robert as he lives and works through the turn of the 20th century. I really enjoyed Train Dreams from a cinematography standpoint. It was absolutely stunning. Almost every frame of this movie is gorgeous, and I would be surprised if it doesn't win for best cinematography, honestly. Train Dreams is what I have described as a series of unfortunate events told through stunning visuals and a pretty score. I think the movie's ending can leave an impact, though the overall plot felt kind of bare to me. If it weren't for Joel Edgerton's performance, I'm not sure I would have connected with the story at all, as the plot felt like one long montage never slowing down enough to give depth or substance to any of its characters. It never lets the audience dive deeper into the character's loneliness and grief. In my opinion, there could have been an even more interesting character study here, but the movie is always moving along to the next tragic event instead of focusing more on Robert and his connections to the other characters. So overall, I would put Train Dreams in the camp of beautiful visuals, but I was left wanting more from the plot. Coming in next at 6th place in my ranking, we have The Secret Agent, directed by Kleber Mendoza Filho. The Secret Agent is a mystery thriller that follows a professor as he attempts to escape Brazil's authoritarian regime in the 1970s. One thing that sets The Secret Agent apart from all these other nominees is that Filho does a phenomenal job of creating an atmosphere. He really paints a picture and immerses the audience into the time, place, and culture. This movie stars Wagner Moura, who is nominated for his performance in this movie, and it is so well deserved because I think he does an exceptional job here. The Secret Agent also introduced me to a couple other actors, including Tania Maria and Carlos Francisco, who I just wanted to highlight here because I really loved their performances. I think this film is an important watch, especially in this current climate. The reason why it seems so low on my personal list is because I am just not particularly a fan of this sort of slow burn neo-noir genre. It's not my favorite type of movie, so it's harder for me personally to get into them. And though I enjoyed this movie, my biggest personal criticism is probably with the pacing, especially at the beginning of the movie, because it feels like the plot kind of drags a bit to get to the point that we're going to. And I know that is an aspect of this typical genre, that it's a slow burn to get us from point A to point B. The movie does pick up by the end, and I really loved the impact that the ending has on the audience. And there were certain choices that I saw people had mixed reviews about, but I really loved the choices that they went with regarding the way they ended the movie. However, because the plot takes a bit to pick up the pace for me, it feels like it meanders around through different characters and even different time periods at times. It felt lengthy and it felt a bit slow. But I know this is probably more of a me problem because this style and genre, which is not my typical cup of tea. But if you like that particular style and genre, I do recommend watching The Secret Agent, and it does pick up by the end. Next on my list, coming in at number 5, we have Marty Supreme, directed by Josh Safdie. Marty Supreme follows Marty as he does whatever it takes in his pursuit of greatness of becoming a table tennis world champion. I am so scared to give my opinion on this movie because I feel like I might get heat for this, as I thought it was just okay. It's another movie shot on film, which I always appreciate, and has a fast-paced, high-energy plot that I think contributed it to being a fun and enjoyable watch. The marketing for Marty Supreme was kind of insane, and it's what really got me excited about seeing the movie because I was expecting it to be something so great. And also, when initial reviews started rolling in, everybody was hyping this up. A lot of people that I know and a lot of people that I saw online were talking about it as the movie of the year. So I had really high expectations going into this movie, and I was surprised when I didn't seem to feel the same way about it as a lot of other people did. There were a lot of people online and a lot of good reviews saying how much Marty kind of inspires them and how they feel like they relate to Marty or they see themselves in Marty, and I think that's great. I really liked Timothée Chalamet's performance as Marty. I think he does an amazing job, but I just didn't really care for him as a character. I know the whole point is supposed to be that he's insufferable, and I think the Supreme and Marty Supreme stands for supremely insufferable. I get it, but for a lot of people I saw, they said there was a moment somewhere in the movie where Timothy got them on board, where suddenly, even though they know Marty is annoying and kind of the worst, they're rooting for him and they want to see him achieve his dreams. But there was never that point for me. Although I really did enjoy Timothée Chalamet's performance, I was never on board with rooting for or against Marty. I was kind of just along for the ride of the film. So when we get to the final table tennis match, that's the whole movie is kind of leading up to, and that Marty was doing everything in his power to get himself to Japan, basically the entire movie, and he finally gets to face off against his rival. I didn't feel any tension in that scene. And a lot of these sort of sports movies, or in a movie that has like a big final face-off like this, there's so much tension, and I'm usually on the edge of my seat wondering who's going to win, or even rooting for somebody to win. But by the time we get to this point in the movie, I don't care whether Marty wins or loses. So it felt like this high energy plot the entire time that is leading to this one particular moment, which didn't really leave any kind of emotional impact on me. And also, I didn't really care for the way the movie ended either. Once again, I will say Timothée Chalamet is great in his performance, and the final scene at the end of the movie, he does a fantastic job. But as far as the writing of this moment, I didn't get it. And maybe I'm missing something that everybody else has seen, but the whole movie, Marty is kind of this point A, and then it seems like a switch is flicked and he's suddenly point B. And I just couldn't get on board with that. It just felt like with the ending scene of the movie that I'm supposed to be thinking that Marty is moving on from his old ambition, that he's taking accountability, that he's going to be responsible, that there's sort of this boy having a moment and turning into a man aspect going on. But I don't think I saw enough in the movie of Marty realizing the effect that his actions have on the people and the world around him in order for me to know that he really understands the way he's acted, and now he's going to be acting differently, or now he's more matured in any type of way. The entirety of the movie, he's stepping on people's backs in order to get the thing that he wants, and he is this narcissist, and now I'm just supposed to all of a sudden believe that he's changed in any type of way without actually seeing him reflect on his actions really and decide to become that better person. Because I know that Marty doesn't exactly get everything that he wants within the movie, and there are a lot of consequences to the way that he acts. I just don't know if these consequences really had any inward effect on him realizing what he has done to the people around him and feeling guilt for what he has done. The movie wants me to think that he's moved on and he's matured now, but it's hard for me to be on board with this as a writing choice because I still don't think he really cared about how his actions affected the other people around him. I think he only cared about how his actions had consequences for him personally, if that makes any sense. And I guess I just wanted, if they were going to make Marty have this moment of change and moving forward at the end of the movie, I wanted a little bit more from that. And in this movie, it just feels like he goes from point A to point B. And as an audience member, I didn't feel emotional or moved while watching this moment. Although I think the movie is overall fun. I didn't hate the movie at all. I like that the plot is really fast moving. I really liked Odessa Zion, and I really liked her character set up in comparison to Marty, because she's kind of like the female version of Marty. So I was loving the movie the entire time, as I think it was just really fun overall. It's a good movie, but I just think the ending brought it down for me because I didn't love the way the ending was presented. And I'm sorry to the Marty Supreme fans, and I think it might just be something within me that I didn't see that everybody else apparently saw, because everybody is hyping this up like the best movie of the year. So I really feel like I might have missed something because the ending didn't do it for me, but that's my personal opinion. Also, why was Kevin O'Leary there? Every time he popped up, I was completely taken out of the whole movie because I was thinking, why is he here? We couldn't get any actors. What was going on with that? And once again, I am sorry if you're a Marty Supreme lover, but for me, it comes in at 5th place. So entering into the top 4, I just want to preface that honestly, a lot of these movies are interchangeable in their rankings, and I was switching things around up until right before I started filming, and I think on a different day, I could see a different one of these movies as number 1 or number 2 or whatever. So the top 4, I think, are all amazing, and any one of these movies in the top 4 could easily be number 1. But somebody's got to be number 4, and for me, that is One Battle After Another, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. One Battle After Another is an adaptation of the novel Vineland, which takes place in a dystopian society and follows an ex-revolutionary who gets sucked back into his own life when a corrupt military officer tries to kidnap his daughter. This movie was simply fun. It's a great time. It's another movie shot on film and it looked great. It had great performances all around. Teyana Taylor, Leo DiCaprio, Benicio del Toro, and Sean Penn all got nominations for their performances in this movie, but I particularly loved Benicio del Toro and his character. I think he was my favorite in the entire movie. And I also really enjoyed being introduced to Chase Infinity. I thought she did excellent in this, and I'm really excited to see her get more work and to be in more things. I really loved how One Battle After Another balances action with comedy while touching on political themes from a psychological standpoint. And what I mean by this is that the movie looks into why certain characters chose to join particular political groups or to align themselves with particular political ideologies. And I think it presents an interesting perspective to look at the politics within the movie through more of a psychological lens. I don't know much about the original source material, but I do know that One Battle After Another is gripping from start to finish. It has a bit of everything. It has the action and the comedy, and it locks you in the entire time. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this win Best Picture. Next up, coming in third on the pyramid, third overall high score, we have Hamnet, directed by Chloe Zhao. First and foremost, I have been a Chloe Zhao fan, and I think she does not disappoint with Hamnet. Hamnet is another adaptation based on a popular novel. It is a historical fiction story that follows the life of William Shakespeare and his wife Agnes. Hamnet was so emotionally gripping for me, and I think most of that comes from Jessie Buckley. She absolutely carried this movie and earned that Best Actress nomination. I think she really is the standout. She is so good in this movie. She makes Paul Mescal look average, which is crazy because I think Paul Mescal does a good job in this, and I think Paul Mescal is a great actor. He's playing another emotionally tortured, distressed, sad boy in this, as he usually does. And honestly, I feel like everything I've ever seen him in, he has played an emotionally distressed and tortured sad boy. Maybe not exactly Gladiator, but pretty much everything else. And on an unrelated note, I'm kind of wondering, when is Paul Mescal gonna do something not so sad? Anyway, I think it was the last act of this movie that really put it up there for me. It was so tense, emotional, and moving, Also, that little boy ate. And by that little boy, I mean Jacoby Jupe, who plays Hamnet in the movie. He was incredible, and it always blows me away when I see these child actors that are so good. His performance was so moving that I was sitting there thinking, how can we get this little boy a Best Supporting Actor nomination? Like, truly, Jacoby Jupe was snubbed. But overall, without spoiling anything, I would just say really great emotional movie. The ending is really what puts it on top for me. Coming in the number 2 spots today is going to be Sentimental Value, directed by Joachim Trier. Sentimental Value follows 2 sisters who reconnect with their filmmaker father and are trying to navigate their complicated relationships with him as he is planning on making a film that is loosely based around their painful past. This movie is one that I have most recently watched, and I want to say it's so high up on the list due to recency bias, but there was just something so captivating about this film. First of all, every single actor in this is operating at a 10 out of 10. There are so many outstanding performances in this. Stellan Skarsgård, Renata Reinsve, Inga Ibsdottir Lilios, and Elle Fanning all were delivering on some of the best performances I've seen this year. Sentimental Value is so compelling because it's a movie about filmmaking that's not really about filmmaking. At its core, it's about people, generational trauma, family dynamics. It feels so grounded and the characters are so complex. It's so interesting because its characters are. It's raw, it's about art and healing and dives emotionally into the character's past and shows the effects that it has on them in the present. There's something about Sentimental Value that feels so effortless to me. I love stories that are character driven, and I think I love Sentimental Value because all of the characters have so much depth. There's nuance to their relationships, which makes their dynamics feel all the more real and human. I also really love the filmmaking aspect that kind of happens on the outskirts of the story. And at the final scene, there's this moment and look between Stellan Skarsgård and Renata Reinsve that just completely makes the whole movie, I don't know, I think everything about this was perfect. I think why Sentimental Value feels so effortless to me is because there's not some big crazy action plot going on, but what pulls you into the story is the characters, and it's because the characters are so well written. Moving on, at the top of the pyramid, the number 1 movie, the only movie I have not talked about yet, is Sinners, directed by Ryan Coogler. Sinners follows twin brothers Smoke and Stack, who return to their hometown of Royal, Mississippi with plans to start a juke joint when they discover a sinister evil. And Sinners is just so fun. It's at the top of my list because for me, it's the most fun out of all these movies. And for me, it's the most rewatchable. It's one that I would rewatch time and time again. I think one of the reasons why I love Sinners so much is because it has good horror, great action, and it has this musical element to it that I particularly love. As a person who plays music and loves music, I love how music is so tied to the story, and I love the way that the movie portrays music. I love that it has original songs, and I particularly love that one scene where playing music allows the character and the audience to sort of time travel through generations of music history and music culture. It was done so well. It is such a love letter to music in general and modern music history. And I think that scene is just like peak cinema for me. It is just so amazing. And then the rest of the movie is just so fun. There's an aspect ratio change at this big moment where the action is really amping up. And I love a good aspect ratio change. And Michael B. Jordan absolutely kills it. When I was going into this movie for the first time, I didn't know that Michael B. Jordan was going to be playing twins. So I was like pleasantly surprised where I'm like, oh my gosh, there's two of him. And he essentially sort of plays three characters in this movie, which I don't want to like super spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but let's just say he plays kind of like three different parts. And the way that you can differentiate between the twins Smoke and Stack because of the way Michael B. Jordan chooses to play them, I think is so incredible. And Michael B. Jordan is nominated for Best Actor, and I'm so happy that he is, because a lot of times horror movies often get overlooked at award shows, including the Oscars. And I think there have been several really great horror movies in the past few years that we have seen really great performances from actors in them, but these actors don't ever get nominated because it's a horror movie. I'm thinking Toni Collette in Hereditary. I'm thinking Florence Pugh in Midsommar. I'm thinking Lupita Nyong'o in Us. I mean, the list goes on, and I'm just glad that Michael B. Jordan is getting the recognition he deserves. Also, recently on the Kelly Clarkson show of all things, Wunmi Mosaku talked about Michael B. Jordan's dimple acting in Sinners, and it was a piece of information that I think a lot of people were unaware of, that I think makes you appreciate Michael B. Jordan's performances even more. As Wunmi Mosaku talks about how Stack has a dimple, but Smoke does not. And that is not makeup or special effects, but it was the way that Michael B. Jordan decided to hold his face when portraying each of the characters. And I love that he was so committed that he really thought about every single detail of Smoke versus Stack. But overall, I think me putting Sinners at number one might be a little bit of a different take, because I saw quite a few people kind of downplaying Sinners in regards to these other movies on the list, saying that anyone who thinks Sinners is the number one movie needs to watch more movies. And maybe I do need to watch more movies, but personally, I love Sinners and I think it's the most rewatchable movie for me, which is why I'm putting it at my personal number one. Do I think it will win Best Picture? I'm not sure. Would I love for it to? Absolutely. I don't understand why people have been so critical on Sinners recently when compared to a lot of these other movies. I think Sinners really delivers on all fronts. The cinematography, the technical aspects, and the acting, the performances are all really great. And I think the storyline being an original story, the storyline allowing for original music to be in the movie, I think everything just kind of tied together in a way that for me, personally, it was the best picture, because I think it tied together all of the aspects that I personally look for in a good movie. And I think there wasn't really anything about Sinners that I didn't like in regards to a lot of the filmmaking aspects. So that's why Sinners is number one for me. Do I think Sinners is going to win Best Picture? If I'm trying to put my mindset in what type of movies the Academy always chooses, I wouldn't be surprised to see a One Battle After Another or a Hamnet win, which I would be perfectly fine with either of those movies winning Best Picture. It's just that usually movies like Sinners and horror movies in general don't get a lot of love at award shows. Now, Sinners was nominated for, I think, the most awards out of any other movie, so maybe that is a good sign that we might be in a Sinners era, and maybe Sinners will take home the Best Picture win, which I would be so happy about. But I think I'd also be happy with probably any of the movies on my top four winning Best Picture. So to wrap everything up, I would love to know everyone's opinions on the movies below in the comments. Just please be nice and respectful to each other. At the end of the day, we're talking about movies, so just keep that in mind. I think my opinions might be a little bit different from the way some other people viewed some of these other movies, so I'm interested to see how you would rank the movies. Did you watch them all, and what was your favorite one out of these Best Picture nominees? Or what other movies did you think got snubbed that maybe should be on the list? Overall, I had such a fun time watching every single one of these movies. I think they're all very enjoyable. There were aspects of certain things that I didn't like in almost every single movie, but it all just comes down to my personal opinion and personal preference at the end of the day. If you're out there wondering if you want to watch one of these movies, I would probably say just go for it. They're all pretty good. And that's all I have for you today. So if you liked this video, please give this video a like. Like I said, leave me a comment below. If you're not subscribed to me already, click on my channel and check out some of my other stuff. And if you like some of that other stuff, you might want to subscribe to me so you always know when I post a new video. And with all of that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you in the next one.